Now you see, oh no, it's live. Hi! Happy Sunday, everyone. We are live, and I'm so excited this is our 11th Sunday Safe Spaces. And I'm so thankful, Wes. We've done it every month for 11 months throughout
Oh
so
man,
much, right?
yeah, I love that. Goodness, it feels like it's been longer, but it's been fulfilled. Um, yeah,
Yes.
this is good. This is good stuff.
This is good stuff. We've had some obstacles. We've been encouraged, and Wes, you've always been like, "No, we're going on. Let's do it. Okay, let's go. Let's do it." So I'm thankful, and we've gained so much. I feel personally and together, and have grown, and it just continues on, right?
Yes,
I feel like a Nipsey quote is due right here, Wes.
I'll be right back. I'm gonna find one while we go ahead and get started. And we're gonna throw it out there. You see, you already speaking my language this morning.
Yes, yes. Um, We're also so excited, everyone, because we have Trish Adobea Tchume with us, and we have Aida Cuadrado also, and she can correct me if I'm saying I'm multilingual today. Like it is on. I'm already bilingual. I am English and
You're
Black
doing it,
English,
April.
and I speak a little Spanish too, so I'm trilingual, right? Um, but I'm so thankful to have these two powerhouses on. Wes and I have connected with them, and they have created this amazing curriculum, and they have go to their website, Calling In and Up, and it's an organization that I'm going to let them share a lot about. But what really resonated with me after our last conversation is that, Wes and I are here with you all. We're in it, right? We're on this road, and our intention is to help us heal, and really having methodologies and practices and ways of being and talking through what is real, and talking about how we are with each other and how we are with others outside of us. Calling in and up, I like it. It's like getting in deep and calling us in, and how are we together. And I'm going to let them share more about what they do and introduce themselves, but it's going to be a phenomenal hour of time, and I'm just open to this space. So we actually are going to start with a practice, and I'm going to pass it on. I think Aida is going to lead. Am I correct with that? Or
That
Trish?
is Trish.
That was Trish, yes. So the floor is yours.
Good morning. Um, just really so happy to be here. And as um, as April was saying, we begin these spaces with a practice of just welcoming in all of the ways that we show up. And so, just want to start by asking people wherever you are, just to get comfortable, right? Um, if you're sitting, lean back in your chair, feel your seat underneath you. If you are standing, try to even out your weight a little bit, not leaning too far forward, not leaning too far back, just being fully grounded and present in this moment here. Just take a deep breath with us. One more. And then we want to just welcome you. We want to welcome you from wherever you are, wherever you're sitting, wherever you're standing, right in this moment. Whether you're in Pittsburgh, Kansas City, Lansing, Michigan, Brooklyn, New York, home of the Lenape and Canarsie people. Whether you're in Washington State, Colorado, if you're tuning in from Nigeria or Ghana, China, the Caribbean, we see you and we're really glad that you're here. We welcome in people of African descent, Black folks, African Americans, Caribbean folks, people of Asian descent, Arab descent, European descent, those who identify as Hispanic, Latinx, people indigenous to this land, people of mixed and multiple descents. We welcome in all the ways that your gender is expressed, whether you are trans, cis, gender queer, or anywhere along that beautiful spectrum. Gay, lesbian, bisexual, heterosexual, pansexual, queer folks, or others for whom none of these labels fit. We see you and you are just so, so welcome here. We welcome all the first languages spoken here, all the learned languages. I see you, April. We welcome all the first languages spoken here: Spanish, English, Hindi, Twi, like my people, Indigenous languages, sign language. We welcome people of different class backgrounds, people who are cash poor, working class, owning class, or those who aren't sure where they fit on the class spectrum. We welcome the people who currently struggle with getting access to the resources necessary for their survival: healthcare, adequate housing, reliable transportation, childcare. And we welcome people who currently have more access to these resources. All of us belong here. We welcome people with disabilities, visible or invisible, in all of our bodies, the different ways we experience ours. So this may include chronic pain, strength, tension. We welcome all of it. We welcome survivors. We welcome folks who are single, married, partnered, dating, in monogamous or polyamorous relationships, those in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. We welcome your emotions, your joy, your bliss, fatigue, anxiety, your grief, your rage, your indignation, your disappointment, your contentment. We welcome the uncertainty you're feeling about whether or not this was the right choice to show up this morning. We welcome your desire to be someplace that maybe feels a little bit more comfortable. We welcome your families, genetic and otherwise. We welcome in those dear to us who have died, our elders, those here in this room, in our lives, and those who have passed. So at this point, those are the things that we are naming into this space to welcome in. But there's so many things that we carry, so many experiences and identities that we show up with, and we want to open up space to welcome them here. So if there's something that I didn't name that you want to welcome into this space, April, Wes, Aida, I welcome you to name them. Folks in the chat, if you want to, what are you carrying? What are you carrying into this space? Identities, experiences. We welcome you to drop those into the chat as well. But all of you are welcome, and thank you for having us.
That was beautiful. And please, if you are listening and watching, feel free to chat. We see it in real time. And you will also notice in the notes that this is part of what Calling In and Up does. I mean, I feel seen. And sometimes just that very act of feeling seen gives you a sense of comfort and creates a little safety. So we'll give a few seconds or minutes to see if anyone wants to follow in with that chat. And then we'll let Aida and Trish introduce themselves. And you'll see also in the chat where Aida shared, like, this is part of what Calling In and Up does. They just called us in. So excited to continue on, you all. Okay. Now that we've had our welcome, let's go ahead. Aida, do you want to introduce yourself, or do you want Trish to do it? You two tag team introduce. We'll take, maybe 5 minutes each. Let's hear you.
Thank you so much, April and Wes, for having us on. It's deeply honored. I was waking up this morning. I was like, I usually get ready to go to church for like my community practice on Sundays, and I was like, I get to practice something different in community today, but that still feeds my spirit and my soul, and I'm really excited about it. So just thank you for this offering, right? Totally present to it. Hello, everyone. I am the descendants of dope ass ancestors from the island of the Borinquen. Tainos, they're called, but I'm also the descendants of the dope matriarchs in my family, the Velez and the Flores women. I am the smell of arroz con gandules, roasted pork, and the smell fabuloso after any family gathering. And I am the sound of super loud Puerto Rican laughs with my friends, slapping laps and cracking jokes at each other. I am Aida, Cuadrado, Bozzo, she, her, AM. But my favorite people in the world, I'm the realest, they call me Titi Mimi. And I am also have the pleasure to partner with the forever homie Trish Adobea Tchume that you'll get to meet here very soon. Oh, she already welcomed y'all, so you already met on her glory. And we got to partner and create this beautiful thing called Calling In and Up, right? And it was a tool that we built together with many other incredible women. Like, nothing happens in this world alone. I'm sorry to tell you. So I'm gonna pause here, if that's all right, April, and I'm gonna pass it to the homie Trish.
Thank you, Aida. It's always good. So I am the descendants of Aqua, Mama, Ama, women who were warm and fierce and loved and feared all at once. Ghanaian women who made a way out of no way. That's what I like to say. I am the smell of fufu and peanut soup on Sundays, which was usually the only thing we ate on Sundays. It's because that stuff sits in your stomach and that's it. I am the sound of 90s R&B, New Jack Swing and hip hop, out in the streets, and then like Jesus Christ Superstar in the shower, if I'm being real. So that's me. I'm from Crown Heights, Brooklyn, by way of Philadelphia, PA, by way of Willingboro, New Jersey, by way of Ghana and West Africa. I dream of a world open enough, joyful enough, loving enough, creative enough, and beautiful enough to match the spirit of my 15-year-old niece, Awo. And Aida's 15-year-old niece, Madison. I hold them when I think about this work. And I am Trish Adobea Tchume. I use she, her pronouns. But the people who know and love me the best call me Aunt Trisha.
I just love that. Wes, it's your turn.
Oh.
We need to have our introductions now.
I mean, I'm Uncle Wes. Those that know me best know me as Uncle Wes. I'm the one that is the mover and shaker in the world. No, No, I truly agree that we do not do the best introductions, April. Like I don't think that I think we just kind of hit the ground running lately. I mean, we're in 11 months. We probably never did it. So I want to formally let everyone know, after all this amazing, vibes and energy, I'm Wesley Hamilton. I'm the founder and director of the Disabled But Not Really Foundation. I'm a huge advocate for the communities that I represent. I speak my truth. I I embody self-love, and I allow that to be what I push out into the world. So yeah, I don't know if I could match it, but I tried. So April, your turn.
That was beautiful. And, thank you, Trish and Aida, because my soul feels so filled right now with just joy, and it made you sharing, you made me love you,
Yes,
and also made me like tap into the love of myself a little more, and it made me think like I'm April Persons Jackson, and ultimately I'm April, and I am the California breeze. I was born and raised in California. I am Berkeley. I am Los Angeles. I am the mother of 3 Black men. I am the descendant of Esther Butler. I am a woman. I am all that I am. I'm Black, and I'm every other race that has come into me, and I offer myself. And you guys, that just came to me.
woo, woo, April. Look at that power. Oh my God. Like,
Thank you.
honestly, um, I'm working. That is my homework today. I will work better on my introduction that speaks power and life into myself before I start to fill other people's cups, because
Mm,
you guys literally just did that, and it was powerful. Like, we haven't even started a conversation, but just the introductions of ownership,
mm,
is powerful. And
yeah.
so I truly appreciate y'all for doing that for us this morning. It's something that I'm literally taking with me.
Yeah, thank you guys. And this kind of segues into like our understanding of some of what you all literally like what you do. Um we talked like when we had this conversation, Wes and I have been big on uplifting and empowering and caring for ourselves so that we can deal with what is outside, right? We can deal with others. And we had this conversation about allyship, and what we've landed on and what we're going to share with you guys today is this concept and this reality of interdependence. And I feel as though the way we just opened up really reflected why interdependence is so important. I needed to hear you, and I needed to be called in order to step into my own power. And so we want to hear what interdependence means and what it looks like, and how calling in and up brings that together. So I'm passing the buck to Aida or Trish.
Yes. What you're watching is how me and Trish usually respond. Like, you got this, I got this. That's interdependence, right? In the most simplest way. It's like, so I'm going to introduce here, like the form, like how we define it, like interdependence. I'm going to drop it in the chat. And I'm just going to read from it right quick, but then I'm going to share a quick story about how that shows up for me, right? Because I'm more of a storyteller. Like, I need real life examples for stuff to actually make sense to me. So interdependence recognizes that we need each other to survive and thrive. And we all have needs and strengths that we bring to the table. I'm going to read that one more time. We all have needs and strengths that we bring to the table. In fact, to any space, I would say, right? And we are all operating under the same systems of oppression, right? So our liberation is also bound to each other. me read that last line again. I just got to, I want that just to land for me. We are all, everyone around you, even the people you dislike, the people who always get things wrong around you, always making you wrong. We are all operating. I promise you, we are all operating, all right, under the same systems of oppression. Even us who feel like we got this shit, right? Like, can I cuss on here? I'm so sorry. Somebody tell me if I can't. Okay. Thank you.
Safe space, but
let me be me. Thank you. Okay. So, yeah. So it's even like recognizing that even us who are like constantly like in this work, we have our blind spots, right? We are all operating under the constant same system of oppression. So our liberation is absolutely bound to each other, right? And I say that because I always tell people I am a recovering colonized woman, and even as a woman of color, even someone who has invisible disabilities, right? Health issues like constant, right? And though sometimes I feel like I'm a Capricorn suicide. Like I feel like I'm always right. So I need to be in community, right? I need to be with other people who can call me in and up, right? Because there's things that I'm still unlearning. There's still things that I'm decolonizing in my spirit, in the way that I move, and the way I make my choices, right? And all of us move in a different way, even more. This is something that Holiday Simmons taught me. If y'all don't know Holiday Simmons, reach out to the homie. He's dope. That when we're triggered and because we're always operating in systems of oppression, always under harm, that like he's taught me that we don't necessarily always show up as our best, right? And so that's like learning to, and the only way you really do that is to be in community with others, right? In an interdependent relationship. So, Trish, did I hit that, homie? Or did there's something I'm missing? Because coming with the hook, you always clean this
up. No, I think that's what it is. And something that I'll share is that I think not only does
I hear a little static, Trish. Do you guys hear static, or is it just me?
I hear a little static too. Yeah.
Maybe it's just a loose wire, Trish.
is this better?
No, yeah, it definitely.
Yes.
You got an extra white static vibe happening right now.
It's the energy. It's the energy.
Look at your ancestors showing up. Just being like, I'm here.
We are. Let me.
There you go. I hear you, T.
Is it better now?
Yes, love. I told you.
I didn't do anything. You just called their name.
We already know what it is.
Okay.
Telling you. It was like, let them know I'm here, T.
So Aida was she was saying that that interdependence requires us to be in relationship with each other, and I just wanted to add that interdependence also requires us to truly see each other, right? And that's part of the reason why we so much of calling in and out.
Got that static again, homie.
I'm gonna take off my headphones and see if that makes a difference.
No. Are you on mute?
Is this any better?
Come on in. Yes.
Okay. Headphones trying to not let me be great. So yeah, somebody just wave if it goes out again. Thank you. But no, I was just saying that in addition to being in relationship with each other, interdependence requires us to really see each other. And so much of the curriculum that we put together, it was created because we were working with women who were incredibly powerful, but would walk into and were operating in spaces where that power was not seen, sometimes deliberately, right? So an example is, in the spaces that we were working in, the professional settings that Aida and I were working in, you walk in, how do you introduce yourself? my name is so and so. I work at this place. I have this degree. This is my title, right? There was a credentialing that happened as soon as you walked in the room that was supposed to sort people. It was supposed to say like, all right, you're somebody that's worthy, you're somebody that's not as worthy, you're somebody I have to help, you're somebody that I have to respect. And Aida brought this practice to us as a way of introducing ourselves in our fullness. This was a practice that was shared with her by this incredible healer, Tafara Muhammad. And Aida adapted it for our space, you know. And for me, I'll just be honest, it has become something that even if I don't introduce myself this way in every space that I'm in, if I'm walking into a place that doesn't feel like this, right, where I'm like, oh, these people are going to welcome me in fully, like I'll read it to myself, you know, like I'm walking into this space, they're going to see whatever they see, but I am the daughter of Amwabia Tchume. I am the granddaughter of Ekwa Amwa, right? And so, so I show up in my fullness. I walk in my fullness, even if it's not seen. And so, so that's just another thing I wanted to add, that this practice helps with interdependence, right? Because it allows us to see each other more fully.
That is so powerful. And when you share this whole, first, we step into our vulnerability, which I think is powerful. What I hear is like, did you say Holiday was the gentleman's name, Aida, who, and that's a lot of what I practice. And that's why Wes and I got together too, because we're asking people who are Holiday Simmons, who, when I say people, I'm people, you know, we live under oppression. We have been traumatized. We continually are traumatized with microaggressions. And no, we cannot walk in our full capacity. We cannot walk in the fullness of who we are because our nervous system is literally just shot, right? Our nerves, when people are like, you are on my last nerve, that's a true statement. There's the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system, and we're agitated, and we know how to live in this agitated state all the time. It's normal. We've normalized it. And so I really like for you all to have the insight to say, let us work with, I know it's for women of color, but we've adopted it at Open Up. Like we just had a retreat and we did a lot of your practices, and I'm the only woman of color. And, you know, Wes is a Black man, and it's like resonating. And just this whole thing of interdependence. And I took notes last time, and we talked about, you said it's rooted in allyship, it's rooted in love, it's rooted in care. And I think that's really, really important. It's just powerful. How can we all be liberated if any one of us is oppressed? Now, what has this looked like? Like, what organizations have adopted your curriculum, and how have you guys been able to share this power that you do with others?
It's a really good question, April. I like, one of the things that we talk about is how transformation happens, right? And even to lean into interdependence is to fully, when we talk about fully seeing each other, we always say we start with self first, right? And self first, because like how Trish says, there's going to be these places that sometimes fully see us, and then these other places that fully don't, right? And you're always feeling like a certain kind of way about that. So what are the practices we can put in place, you know, around interdependence, where one, you learn how to love yourself and just know that when you're walking in a room, you're walking with all that lineage, you know, and that when you walk into a space like that, it shifts the room, right? It just shifts, right? It creates like a boundary for you to be like, I know who I am, but also I know who I am in relationship with you. And I think that's also a beautiful thing about interdependence. We also talk about this curriculum and even just talking about transformation and this practice of interdependence happening from self then to interpersonal, and then from interpersonal to community, and then to like organization and movement or systems, right? And it's a hard thing for a lot of organizations and people just to grasp, because how you said, April, like we are constant under these systems that oppress, and so we to feel something else, to understand something, to choose to do something else, is like a radical action, and can feel very vulnerable at times, right? So I would say that folks kind of struggle with interdependence because it would acknowledge that, yo, I don't have all the answers, and in this world we are conditioned to think that we need to know all the answers, and then actively says interdependence requires us to like be like, I have needs, and then who here can help me out with this need, right? Because that is their gift, or and vice versa. And that's something that we're not used to walking into any space in, right? Like and I remember just like for us to do it, Trish and I had to work through our own things around interdependence, right? And getting like learning, oh my God, what's showing up for me is that like I'm embarrassed to say I don't know how to do this thing, right? Or that I'm tired today. Or that like I had a deep loss to my family today. I'm sick. I'm sick, and I just can't do this today. And for me to walk into a space and then be like, can any of you stand in for me today? That's a radical act of interdependence, right? And then them being, because they fully see you, right? When you're fully seen, for someone to turn around like the homie Trish to be like, girl, I got you. You ain't even got to show up. Take your ass to bed, right? Go sleep. Go be with your loved one, right? Go heal. I got you. And when I'm in need, homie, I know that you'll have me. That's radically different than how we experience the world. And so there are some organizations we worked with and currently working with to practice this. But I would say that the majority of people that I'm currently working with, I don't know, the homie Trish is on a whole nother level, okay? Okay, she just out here doing her thing. But are in that personal to interpersonal practice, right? And that's why the curriculum is called Calling In and Up, because when you start showing up as, some colonizers, we got to be like, doop, 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 hello. What you're doing right now is hella colonized, hella oppressive, homie. Like, let me reground you in who you want to be. So we lovingly call each other in and up, through accountability. So I will pause there for like, I don't know, Trish wants to jump in, West, April, you know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody here expert in this. We just diving in, You vibing? Does this make sense? Who wants to call bullshit? I welcome it all.
I don't call any bullshit. This is beautiful.
No, most definitely. I think that, like April said, it's something that I can consume and gravitate. But I also feel that we don't get enough people to tell us to come as we are, and we don't have enough people around us that sees us as who we are. And so I think the power of, embracing that and just being willing to be you and allow others to accept that, and eventually see you for you because you're not afraid to show that. I think that speaks. It speaks for anybody watching, anybody that, is dealing with trying to struggle with who they are, or are they going to be accepted because they're around other, they might be the one that's different, amongst everyone else. I think about myself with a disability or just a Black man, but when I think about the intersections of this disability, it's like I go into a room and I have to already be able to accept all of the things that people are going to see, so that I can show them something more, and just kind of like the work that you guys are. Yeah, like it's powerful, because I could see me having someone come in my room now. I'm like, nah, that ain't you. You know what I mean? Like literally just seeing it right there. Like I want to see you. And right now you're giving me what you think I should see, and so that's what I'm grasping from you guys, is that you're creating something that is giving people basically their power, to take that control and ownership and be seen and not provide what people want to see, so yeah, I'm all for this right now.
You said not provide what people want to see, or what you think they should be seeing through this lens of white supremacy, and I don't say that loosely. I mean, I say that in love, because we're all under it. And that's what I like about your organization. It's, you say, yeah, it's women of color curriculum, but it's like you said, there's interdependence, and it's for everybody in a loving way. And there's this one, it's on your slide deck, but there are ways of calling people in and out. And then you have like kind of definitions of the type of people. And I was reading and I was like, ooh, I sound like her. But it's like a lovingly way just to say, these are all these different type of personality types. These are ways that we can work with each other whenever we're in any of these types. And like you said, you can have anybody come in and let's get grounded. Who do you want to be? You don't have to walk in this role that society says you should be. And I think it's powerful. I'm curious to know, like, what gave you guys the audacity to do this? I think of Obama because I've been reading his book, The Audacity of Hope. Like, what gave the two of you the audacity to be like, we're writing this and we're putting this out? I'm curious to see how this generated for you guys.
Aida's pointing at me. Aida gave me the audacity, you gave me the audacity, April. Wes, you gave me the audacity, right? We were working for an organization that has been around for 50 years, has been supporting community organizers over the course of those 50 years. Incredibly powerful organization. And, they were seeing like, oh, we have more folks of color who are coming into positions of leadership within organizations, and we want them to be powerful. Like, we want them to stand fully in their power. Can you create a program for us? That's what I was hired to do. Can you create a program that supports people to stand fully in their power? And we started from the place of thinking about traditional leadership development programs. And those programs often start from a deficit. Like she's pretty good, but these are all the ways that we need to train her up in order for her to actually be a leader, right? And even if that's not like the stated purpose, like that's really where, that's really how they're modeled. Those are the programs that I had gone through. Those are the programs that Aida had gone through. And I think even more sinister is that a lot of the programs look at, frankly, like white supremacist archetypes of leadership, right? They're about sort of like, this is power meant like domination, power meant organized, like you have to be super organized, power meant linearity, power meant, being able to say that something was going to happen, whether or not you actually knew it was going to happen, right? Like being able to be decisive. All of these things that were not necessarily ways of being, cultural ways of being for the folks that were coming into the leadership of these organizations, right? And so we didn't want to build a training program that took leaders, especially leaders of color, especially women of color, further away from themselves, right? And that's what these programs low key were doing, right? They were like, if you want to be a good leader, you got to look like that. And that doesn't look like anybody that they knew, anybody that they resonated with. So we basically had to build it ourselves, right? I looked at Aida and I was just like, what I want is for Aida to not become something else. I want Aida to show up as Aida in every room that she's in. Like, that to me would be leadership. Like, what would happen if Aida felt like her ideas were worthy of every space that she was in and she just said them, right? Like, what would that look like? And we had to just make it up. We put together the curriculum because we were like, we've seen it here and there. We've seen different pockets of it in healing justice spaces that we were in transformative organizing spaces that we were in Black organizing spaces that we were in, but we hadn't seen it all put together. So that was what gave us the audacity. I think I probably wouldn't even call it audacity. We were just like, we can't do that other thing. So it was more like a response to a need. And we started with, I'm glad that you were speaking to this earlier, April, because, one of our guides along the way were the women of the Combahee River Collective, right? Which was a group of women feminists in the 70s, Black women feminists who had been part of the feminist movement, didn't see themselves as Black women, as Black queer women in that movement. And so really started to name, like, we need something different for ourselves. And one of the things that they said, I'm going to share this quote, we might use our position at the bottom, however, to make a clear leap into revolutionary action. If Black women were free, it would mean that everyone else would have to be free, since our freedom would necessitate the destruction of all systems of oppression, right? So they were focusing on, like, what is it that we need? But they understood that, like, the things that hold us back hold everybody back because we're at the bottom, And so with this curriculum, right, we made it with women of color in mind. I was looking at Aida, I was looking at April, and we were thinking, like, what would they need? What would we need? Right. But the idea is that, like, if this is what we need, Wes probably needs it too, right? Because Wes is living under the same system, right? So that's just to clarify and to kind of build on what you were saying, April. Like, we it's for women of color, but it's for all of us because it's for women of color, if that makes sense. So I just wanted to say that, but we've only done it with women of color. And so spaces like this are so important for us because we say, it's for everybody. We want it to live. That's why it's free. That's why you just take it and you do what you want with it. But, we want to hear, like, well, what does it look like in a yoga studio? Right? Mm-hmm. Like, what does it look like in a disability justice space? Like, this exchange is what we wanted to see in terms of how other organizations are using it. So we just want to appreciate both of you for seeing what we couldn't see in the curriculum and making it your own.
Yeah. This is powerful. And yes, it's free. Like Aida said, did y'all hear it? It's free. If you go to callinginup.org, you will see the curriculum there and you can tailor it, to your organization, use it as needed. And I just want to share, so you can chime in, but to step into your own power, being who you are, it's to me, it makes common sense, but we just haven't been in that kind of a society. But what I love also is, I don't know, this concept to me is like, okay, they're at the bottom. They're not as intelligent. They're not as smart. They're not as this. So they can't be who they are because they have to be, like you said, like this, right? And you two are the most cognitive, densely and rich in knowledge women. Even going through this process, Wes and I are like, yeah, we're just gonna do this, and this, and you like the intelligent energy you all bring that just like just comes through your pores is a reflection of reality. It's a reflection of the power and the resources that we all have, that you have been allowed to tap into, and you allowed yourself to do it. And I think that's what I see in this curriculum. You're allowing everybody to tap into their power, tap into your lineage, tap into your ancestry, tap into those around you to get what you don't have. And I love that. That gives me a feeling of talking about that whole lineage aspect. Wes, you want to share what you've gotten out of that part of us sharing? Especially Aida. Aida brings it in deep. We're all like, yes.
No, I'm reading this caption or this quote that you just, that if Black women were free, it would mean that everyone else would have to be free, since our freedom would necessitate the destruction of all the systems of oppression. And then just thinking about what you guys just said about, if it's working for women of color, then it has to be something that brings value to someone else, or the intersections involved. I think a lot of the things I talk about is just knowing yourself and ownership, and allowing your true self to be what people see. So for it's important that this practice is for others outside of, just women of color and communities, because I think that, as April said earlier, it's a lot of people that just don't know how to take control of themselves, because it wasn't taught. It wasn't taught for us to have ownership. It was taught for us to be oppressed, and even within the generations and cycles, oppression still lies in some of the generations that was before us, and just their ways of moving, their habits, things like that. Like I always, as April, when we were doing our introduction, I was talking about my grandma, and like, if it's real, like, you gotta meet me in my grandma's house. But the point of that is that, my grandma comes from a time, she's 90 years old. So she comes from a time where, for her, safety was being in the house. Safety isn't getting out. Like, for her, it still looks like, okay, y'all need to dial back in because y'all out there doing too much. And even though, but now she's able to witness individuals like myself that's taking ownership, that is getting out into the world, that is being seen the same way she sees me, right? Because there are people that are around us, right, that see us for us. But then when we get out into society, we end up having to shield that. It's like a cookout. Get to a cookout, everybody gonna know you, right? Like, they know you. They like, man, don't come with that bullshit ass West that they see on TV, bro. Like, they gonna be like, hey, what's up, right? Like, don't come with that. And so I think, so if I reference it, it's like, come as you would to a cookout. Come as you would when you're around people that you're comfortable around, because that's how you make other people comfortable too. If you shield who you are to other people, well, now that gives them the ability to create their own perception of you. And when they create a perception of you, you become oppressed in your own tangles, in your own chains mentally, because you've allowed that to be something that you embody instead of looking in the mirror and embodying the person that you are. And so I, of course, like I took this in real good today, because it's very important for people to understand, especially Black people, especially those that have just, your true power has been hidden. I think, I don't know if it was this talk, or I don't know where I just heard it from, but I know I said it to my brother yesterday, and we were talking about slavery and just things. And I heard it recently, and someone said, you never hear the question of, well, what about Black people before slavery? And when I thought about that, and I'm like, well, there's so much importance to that, because instead we only learn about being oppressed. We learn about being chained up. But it had to be a point where we had so much power that we needed to be chained up and oppressed because of the way that we live, the way that we embody earth, embodied ourselves, became spiritual. Like there are a lot of things that now for me, I start to look at and I'm like, no, all we're doing is going back, not backwards. We're going into like a 360 turn where oppression showed us where we couldn't be seen. And now we're able to give people the ability to see us rise above oppression because that's who we were before oppression even existed. You know, and so if you can go into a room and allow yourself to be seen, what you're doing is allowing people to see who you are before being oppressed. Because all they know is to oppress you. The way you move in life, the way you move in just in any space, it's to oppress you. It's the perception that the systems have created for you to embody so that you can be that, you know, that robot, that puppet. But when you become seen, none of that, because nobody can hold you to strings because you're holding the strings. Right?
Yeah.
I like what you just wrote down.
But if I can just jump in here right quick, I just want to say, yeah. I mean, I remember being in like some kind of like desert Airbnb with Trish one day. She was just like, you know why we always are moving from a trigger space in a meeting? Because we're dealing with all those perceptions and the demonization of our people before we walk in a room. Now imagine like what it means to credentialize, and only those people can be in a space who are credentialed and listened to. Like, she was like, what would it be to be in a space where you didn't have to squirm and fit yourself into a box to be heard? And I was like, imagine what we would unlock if folks could just be fully themselves, feel safe by themselves, claim their space, know that they're valuable. Imagine all the radical imagination, right, that we would have. And it was just like one of those aha moments, like, okay, so how do we create that space, right? How do we decolonize it even more is one of the questions we always ask ourselves. And I just want to name, yes, and I want to also honor the choices that our ancestors had to make to be safe. So I honor my abuela, right, to keeping us safe. I honor that, and now we get to choose how we want to be, right? And I love watching people squirm around me now. When I walk in the room and I'm like, yo, what's good, everybody? How you doing? Like, I am fully myself, like eating my snacks because I want to nourish my body. I love seeing everybody else who is contorting themselves, wanting to free themselves and struggling with what does liberation look like for them, right? Because they're seeing me and they're like, Aida, you know you're not supposed to act like that, right? You're supposed to act like this. And I'm like, I'm going to be Aida, right? That's something I learned from Trish. But anyways, I'm going to pause there. Trish, you wanted to say something, April? So sorry. But yes, Wes. All the abuelas.
Just what you said and what Wes was, it's just like, you know, the question that you were asking April before about like why we wrote the curriculum, like why we wrote it down, like I feel like you guys are answering it as we're talking, because so much of what we talk about, these systems of oppression that we live under, that are very powerful, that shape the way that we move, and these inherent gifts that we carry in ourselves through our lineage, none of that, we're having this conversation and we're like, yeah, we're living under systems of oppression and we are kings and queens and just knowing this stuff is not enough. You know, Aida calls herself a recovering colonized person, right? And she will be in that recovery until the day that she is no longer with us. I will be in that recovery until the day I am no longer with you all in this form anyway. You know, we call yoga a practice, right? Because you don't just do yoga once and, you know, your body and your mind and your spirit are in alignment, right? You have to do it every single day because you leave the mat and you walk out into the world, and this world that we live in pushes us back into something else, right? And so you come back to the mat. Like, we wrote the curriculum because I mean, in the first place, we wrote it because we wanted to give it to the women that were in the room. You know, we would go on these retreats. So the way that we organized the program originally, the Leadership Cultivation Program, was a program. We took them away from their current situations. We created this liberated zone, and we were like, in here, show up exactly as you want to, exactly as you were born to. And we would be ashaying each other and like, we have this like Black brown solidarity, and like everybody's like speaking in their purpose and everything like that. And then they walk out the room and they're a mom, and they're taking care of mothers and children, grandmothers, mothers and children. Their communities are in crisis right now, right? They're being told by funders that their work isn't worthy right now, right? And like all that ashaying is like, and you know what I mean? And so we wrote the curriculum because it's not just knowledge. It's not just something that when you learn it, you embody it and you are it. These have to be practices, right? These are the sun salutations of creating alignment, right? Between what we know is the power of folks like us and what is necessary in order to stand in that power, right? So we wrote it down so that people could return to it over and over again, right? And I just wanted to say something else, Wes, about your grandma's house, because something else. So there are the practice parts of it, and then there are the parts of the curriculum that are about like, how do you create the environment, right, in order for you to be able to show up as yourself. And part of what we try to remember too is like, this isn't just like a stated commitment. Like, you have to actually do things, practices. You have to like create a physical space that allows people to be able to show up. Like, we had to provide childcare, right? When folks would come to our retreats, we had to, have a process in place to make sure that the folks in our space who were undocumented would get to us safely and could get back to where they were going safely, right? Because these are the realities of the people who showed up. When you go to your grandmother's house, they see you fully, but also I'm sure like she has created enough space in her kitchen that like you can move in your chair, right? So it's not just, I just want to name that. It's not just like, oh, we like Wes, we want Wes to be there. We want, I want April to be able to show up. Like, if I want you to show up, like I have to actually move the space so that you can belong, right? And so how are we doing that in every space that we're in? And the curriculum tries to give you some tools around that.
That's a beautiful analogy, Trish. Like, I was just thinking, I love to like cook and have people over and the holidays. I'm like, ooh, so-and-so likes this and so-and-so likes that. And I'm going to make that peach cobbler because that's a beautiful analogy. When you're welcoming people, you try to create an atmosphere and serve them things that they like. That just gave me a chill. Like you said, first of all, Wes, it's the first time I heard your grandmother's 90 years old and I love her. And I'm coming to Kansas City to sit in her house. I have no shame to be anywhere.
Love it.
But that's a beautiful analogy. Thank you for sharing it in that way. God, so much. I feel like we could go a whole nother hour, but we are honoring each other's time. It is a Sunday and we have a little church right here, which we can get, the spirit can come to us, right? Wes and I usually we wind it down by sharing like what fuels you, what are your practices? Because you're right, Trish, it's an ongoing practice. Seasons change, and our humanity, we shift. Nothing is stagnant. So there are ongoing practices that can serve us. There are ways that we shift. And so we love to share literature, podcasts. Thank you for sharing some of the resources, Aida, in the chat that you have used even for the curriculum personally. But what do you guys do to take care of yourself, your soul, your body, your minds, and your spirits, and what edifies you? Aida, do you want to go?
Oh wow. Thank you for that reminder. I have learned that I need my people. And so I have both cultivated a space for me where my people are at, and then I've also spent time with like the youngest people in my family because, they understand life way clearer than we do. Uh, and so I do that. And then my other practices, I just try to be present as much as I can, and go back and visit home as much as I can. But there are some practices that, of course, we name a bunch of them in the calling in and up curriculum. And if I was going to practice, tell you, how do I practice, as my recovering colonized woman, the first thing I do is I learn how to be in my body. A survival mechanism for me was before in the past, to keep everything out here because it was manageable. But the second I recognize that my body's what is that? Or my body's tight, or I'm feeling something, I know that I can address it, right? Because it's manifesting. So those are some of the practices that I do. Trish.
I appreciate you sharing that, Aida, that you tap into your body. I appreciate you sharing that you tap into your body and how you feel. I like
Thank
that.
you. Yeah. It's another thing that Holiday and Viveka taught me. So
Yeah.
Go ahead, Trish.
Yeah, I'm somebody who has to be in practice all the time too. I feel like as intentional as I try to be, I just every morning I feel brand new in terms of my decolonization practice. So like Aida, I have a circle of people who remind me of who I am, I have a circle of Wes's grandmothers who surround me to keep me grounded. But just two other practices, I build altars, pretty much everywhere I go. So even, I have them here in my home. So just every room that I walk in, basically, even if it's just a little space with 3 items where I'm oh yeah, that's my intention. That's my purpose. That's who I'm from. But if I go into a meeting or something like that, you'll notice I'll just have a little, even if it's a little figurine or something that somebody gave me, I'll just put it on the corner of whatever space I'm sitting at as something that visually reminds me to stay grounded in who I am. So that's one practice. And then something more recently, I can drop it in the chat, is a few years ago when the Fees Must Fall movement was growing in South Africa, the young people who were at the forefront of the movement, they remade a decolonized version of the South African national anthem that was built on the African National Congress anthem from 100 years before. It's called Nkosi Sikelele, Africa. And it's just super powerful. And so I listen to it 4 times every morning, just before I leave the house. I'm rooted in it. And it just reminds me that I come from a long line of freedom fighters. So I'll drop it in the chat.
Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm. How about y'all?
Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. So it's crazy that I'm listening to some amazing women today and getting so much knowledge, because the only reason why I say it's crazy, because a lot, when you think of literature, when you think of podcasts, a lot of it is men, talking about knowledge, sharing books, or at least a lot that I find. But lately, one of my favorite podcasts is the Model Health Fitness Show with Sean Stevenson. And he really just drops a lot of bombs when it comes to health, but he's been sharing a lot of different speakers and some empowering things. And Lisa Nichols has been someone that I've heard of, but I've really just started to gravitate to the story, gravitate to her voice, gravitate to the ownership. So my most recent read that I've been stuck on is by Lisa Nichols, and it's called No Matter What. So I've really love that because it really speaks of kind of like what we're talking about today, if not everything, in a sense of just that ownership and coming and being who you are and accepting all the things that made you who you are. And so, of course, and then I'm always if I can find my book, Black Pearls, I have to share that. So 365 days of African American affirmations, meditations, and inspirations. So this is something that I really open up every day. So if you follow me on social media, most likely I take a picture of it and share the pages with everyone every day. And yeah, affirmations, I leave with that. So as long as you speak with intent, as long as you speak, I think Muhammad Ali says it best. It says it's the constant repetition of affirmations that leads to belief. And once that belief becomes a deep conviction, things begin to happen. So always speak life into yourself by taking ownership.
Yeah, I like that. And I try to think my intentional practice, and I'm trying to get in a space, I think, where my life is just a practice. So usually, like, I get up, I'm a big dreamer. First of all, I'm a dreamer, but I often wake up and I have to mull through, what was that whole dream about, and so I just lay in bed in the morning. Honestly, I'll wake up, just kind of lay in bed. I always have this big thing of water at the side of my bed, and I just work on my deep breathing and really kind of just sorting through my thoughts and letting them flow in and out. And I spent so much of my life holding on and grasping onto my thoughts and creating all these narratives around the thoughts and the feelings. And so in the past few years, I've really been intentionally, okay, that was a thought. And that's it. And just using my breath and trying to wake up with more of an intention of meditating and finding stillness. And I like quietness as much as I like to talk and laugh and ha ha he he kiki and hang out. I love silence. And so I'll just kind of move intentionally throughout my house, trying to place things in a space I want them to be. And it helps just kind of calm my spirit. I just finished reading, talking about our lineage and our ancestry, Cicely Tyson, Just As I Am. That, the history and the knowledge from that 96-year-old woman, she wrote that book in her 90s. She didn't even come into her acting career until she was in her 30s. This is like back in the 50s where it was unheard of, right? We talk about audacity. And then I closed her book and I was like, damn, that was such, like, I wanted to keep reading. And then I got this for Christmas, Obama's book, and I can't put it down. I love history because we learn, and just to be in his head and to see how he navigated through things and connect it to where was I in that place and time, and oh, this is what's happening, this is my recollection. So I do, it's a thick read, it's a good read or a good listen. I've been doing that, and I really don't even have words. Honestly, I'm just kind of speechless because I'm just so full of joy and happiness and having sat at the table with the three of you and Trish and Aida. Like, I see this work going huge. I do strategic consulting, business consulting. I do leadership development and professional development. And I went through some programs to learn, and for you to connect it and really empower people of color and women of color and be intentional about it, and to allow this space and to bring your knowledge and your wisdom, which I think is a wisdom that runs real deep, and when I say that, it's because it came from the ancestry, it. Thank you. Just thank you for that. And thank you for sharing the platform. And thank you for being real and being yourselves. And so until we meet again, I encourage everybody, like, write it down. I went back to look. You guys, you're using a practice called the I Am poem. Wes and I talk about journaling and writing. Pull out your poem and write down who you are and who you really know yourself to be, and the negative self-talk and the doubt and all the other things that you think you should be. Know who are you. And continue like the practices. Trish, thank you for sharing that. You always have a little something that grounds you in a meeting, something of remembrance. Thank you for sharing that. You'll step before you step into that boardroom or wherever. Thank you for that. And thank you for Aida for just reminding us to like lean on each other. I appreciate that. Are there any closing words for you guys?
I'm just want to say, like, y'all don't even know, like, I have a keynote on Wednesday, and I'm coming in there with my introduction. Like, I'm coming in there with them knowing exactly who I am in every way. I'm gonna have it rough. Like, I'm that fired up that when I go in there, by the time I'm done with that, I will set the tone in a way that I probably have never set the tone before. So truly, truly just appreciate this conversation. I think we always find this empowerment, but literally, if anything that I took from today is like ownership comes from when you introduce yourself, and I'm ready for it.
Trish and Aida, any closing words?
Somebody better be recording that joint. I want to see it.
Yes.
Let them know.
Yes.
We so appreciate this. This was really beautiful. Thank you for holding this space for 11 months. Like, we need a million of these spaces for our folks. And so we want to honor you as well for, we feel in community with the two of you who are just trying to call people in, give them a space to restore and remember. So thank you for that. And this was just fun. Anytime I get to hang out with Aida, she knows I'm like trying to move in with her.
Me too. No, much appreciation for seeing us, for picking up our book, for reading it, through looking through our website, for witnessing the wisdom of our ancestors, and seeing fully who we are and creating space for us. That's I feel blessed and open to coming back to any Sunday safe space.
Yeah.
And,
We put that out there. We're looking for funding, anyone. So whoever wants to support our space, right?
Wes, yeah, and Wes, please tell your abuela thank you for loving you, really seeing you, and then that like I can throw down in the kitchen too. So if I'm on the invite, bring some of my yummy food too. I'm just saying.
Potluck.
I like abuela spaces. So yeah.
Well, here's to the rest of the week. Cheers.
Cheers.
Love you all.
I got this.
Much love.
All right. We're done, everybody. Have an amazing Sunday, and we look forward to seeing you again on Sunday Safe Spaces. Go to callinginandup.org. Even if you just want to peruse for yourself, please go and share it with your leadership if you feel like you all need it. Definitely. All right. Thank you.